Hello. So we finished up with some of the successes of the Articles of Confederation last time. Saying that, with the Articles of Confederation being the first government, there were definitely some issues that existed, and today we're going to talk about those failures. In looking at some of the problems and kind of why this government failed, let's start with the amount of debt that the government owned or owed different countries. They owed about $40 million to other countries because of the war. You also had soldiers that still needed paid, and under the Articles, you had 13 sovereign states, or these 13 states that saw themselves as independent from England as well as each other. There was no sense of being Americans yet. They still saw themselves as Virginians or South Carolinians or Georgians. There was no idea of the concept of being American. Because of that, states had different currencies, and this made trading difficult. Okay, they charged other states tariffs or taxes on their goods. So businesses in South Carolina who wanted to uh, send their goods to Virginia had to pay a tax, even though it was the same country. States made trading agreements with other countries, not the United States making trade agreements, but each individual state. And then they also ignored Congress's requests to fund the government and pay the debt. They did not consider the national debt their problem. The idea was, or the way that the state saw it was, well, if Massachusetts isn't going to pay, why should Virginia pay? Why should Delaware pay? And it was really one of the biggest issues with the Articles of Confederation. Another major weakness was the national government. Congress could do little if the states refused to provide money. Um, they had no standing army. They could not regulate trade. And all of these made the new government look very weak in the eyes of foreign nations because they could get nothing accomplished as a country. Another problem with the Articles of Confederation was that a bill would only become a law if 9 of the 13 states voted for it. That was very tough to do if looking at the size of different states, the economies of different states, looking at slavery. All of that made it tough to pass new laws. Smaller states could block the votes of the larger states because each state had one vote. There were 5 smaller states. So if they wanted to block the larger states from doing something, all 5 of the smaller states had to vote no, and only you would get 8 states passing the bill. And even if a bill was passed, the national government couldn't enforce it. You had no national court system. Okay, you had state courts that interpreted national laws. So if a state wanted to make a national law favorable, they could interpret it in a way that it would benefit that state. It was hard for the federal government to settle disputes between the states because there was no national court system, and the state courts could tweak the law and interpret it the way they wanted to. Here's a basic summary of the problems or the issues or the things that the article or the national government could not do under the Articles of Confederation. One, there was no executive branch, no judicial branch, or no national court system. Congress could not levy taxes. They could not regulate trade. They could not force anyone to abide by the law. They could not pass laws without consent of 9 states. And then if they wanted to amend the articles, they actually needed unanimous consent. Imagine trying to get 13 states to all vote yes to change the Constitution or change the Articles of Confederation. It would be very, very challenging. So, and looking at some of the 3 biggest issues, the idea that there's no executive branch, no judicial branch, and Congress couldn't tax, the Articles of Confederation was set up for failure pretty much from the get-go.